Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel. We are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And I wanted to make this video today for you guys, for us, about when you relapse to the narcissist, relapse back to the narcissist. I want you to understand, right, how this is part of the process. If you have gone back to the narcissist, if you have, see, I don't teach people, I don't like force people through the process. I help you evolve, right? So that you won't be a match for a narcissist at all. But I don't say to people in my group, if you don't go no contact, you can't work with me or anything like that. Because I know that your evolution will, like, when you dropping the enmeshment is a natural part of you coming home and being sovereign with self, right? And relapsing back to the narcissist for many reasons that we've talked about, trauma bonds and fears and all sorts of things, can be a part of it. If you've relapsed in any way, yes, it's a black hole and it's a dangerous game, and we know that. But I need you to know there's nothing wrong with you. Right, please don't make it mean that you can never break free, that you've betrayed yourself, that any self-work you've done on yourself is now not worth it, that you're the person that's not, you can't, be helped or anything like that. Relapse sometimes is part of recovery. Yeah, and addicts, so it's good to, in narcissistic abuse, the enmeshment is stronger than an addiction because it's the reason I say that is because with an addiction to a substance, for example, it's more on a physical and emotional level. In fact, most addictions, honestly, your body after about 7 days doesn't crave it in the same way at all, but your emotions will. Now, is your body affected? Yes, but the actual craving isn't physical really after that. The reason narcissistic abuse is an enmeshment stronger than addiction is because it's emotional, physical, it's energetic, it's spiritual, and it's happening in the psychic realms. It's just a stronger thing. You can break it all, right? When addicts, let's compare it, but it is similar to addiction because it's the kind of pull. When addicts go into recovery, very often, an alcoholic, for example, will say, oh, I think I can just handle a few drinks. And very often they'll completely relapse and be back in the addiction severely. Drug addicts do it, alcoholics do it, it's notorious. Are there some people that manage to have the odd drink? Possibly. But it is very often that we learn about something, we heal, and then instead of like going forward in our life, we go backwards because we're afraid often to go forward or for other reasons. Our security, or it's our fear that puts us back. And we kid ourselves that now I'm more evolved, I'm more skilled, I can handle this. The challenge is with the narcissist, they will emotionally trauma bond you again. You will be in for a shock. You'll be more aware this time. But you'll also, a lot of my clients, when they have gone back for short periods, they'll say, I just felt I couldn't connect, they couldn't get sucked in the same way. So you will have progressed. You won't be able to be sucked into it in the same way, but you also won't be able, you'll be put through the same kind of assault, bad behavior, the same cycle. And even if you feel like I can better handle it, you're not going to escape the consequences of having to rebuild your life. There's not like a way that you can kind of be an addict, kind of be an alcoholic. You either are or you aren't. And so you're always going to at some point come to a need to completely change yourself, right? Rather than cling on to something that makes you ultimately unhappy, drains your energy, and is preventing you from going into your full life, right? They say that the definition of an addiction is about when it interferes with your quality of life, your emotions, your work, your functioning. Yeah. So if you're in a relationship that is interfering with your quality of life, it's serious. Your emotional well-being, your functionality, your basic health. So it's kind of normal for any addict to kid themselves that they can now handle it, that they say an alcoholic will go to all the AA meetings, I can now handle it, I'm better equipped, and get completely back where they started from, or feel that, but you're not back where you started from if you've done some learning and growth. You've just made a decision that you can recover from quicker this time, but the circumstance isn't going to change just because you've evolved. You're still going back to a narcissist. It is proven in psychology that there are some offenders on this planet that rehabilitation doesn't work for them. Now, narcissism, they don't really get rehabilitated from it. It can happen in the sense of a spiritual awakening, but it would take a long time and a lot of work. So the narcissist has not changed. And when you're in recovery, which when you've left a narcissist, you're in recovery, like an addict would be, the key is to put things in your environment that support you. That's why people go to AA meetings. That's why there's channels like this on the internet where you can plug in and remind yourself. Because, of course, when you're not in the dramatic pain, when a narcissist comes back with a new trick or a really insincere apology that you want to believe, but you'll know inside when you're kidding yourself. Yes, you want to hear it. Yes, you want to believe it, but your soul knows. You do know inside, right? You're not going to be in the level of denial you were. It's not to start beating yourself up and convincing yourself that you can't make it through. It's to understand that human beings sabotage ourselves all the time. We sabotage ourselves when we go to the next level because it gets expansive and we get excited, and then our fears come in and our old patterns remind us of who we were, and there's a little bit of sabotage that goes on sometimes which could make you relapse and kid yourself. Every addict will say, I can handle just one shot of heroin. I can handle it. Yeah, until it starts destroying their life again, and then they realise that was a bad move. So what I'd say to it is, don't punish yourself. Don't think that it makes you stupid or anything other than you've done something, but you've got to dig deep to your own truth. And if you are choosing to, if I chose to be an addict for the rest of my life, then I've just got to accept what that means. I've got to accept what that means and accept what it costs me. It's going to cost me my health, it's going to cost me opportunities, it's going to cost me my finances, it's going to cost me my life. Yeah, I'm going to have to accept what it costs. So if you are choosing it, you've got to accept what it costs. And if you're happy to give your life to that, then that's what you're making a choice of. If you're not, then first of all, sabotage, relapse sometimes can be part of recovery. Yeah, and most of the time you were just too scared. You were just too scared. Don't beat yourself up. It's very natural that we go back. It's very natural that we try and resuscitate the illusion of the person didn't exist. And it seems convenient because logically there will be reasons, like maybe financially, like maybe what they do for you, like maybe what you don't think you can handle yourself, right? But there's only one way to find out, which is to back yourself and understand that you're going to have to act differently in terms of getting the support you need in order to stay on course if you choose to have a better life. And if you don't choose to have a better life, then take responsibility for it. You know, don't put it on your friends, don't vent it to other people, don't infect other people with it, honestly, because if you choose that, it's your choice. You get to be honoured in your choices on this universe, but then you've got to take responsibility for the consequences, which you know, right? So like, when you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. When you do know, and then you've got to see it for what it is. Am I refusing my freedom? Am I refusing to break free? Do I need support on the fear and the getting accustomed? Because I talked to you as well about I studied transformation, change, like I've studied entrepreneurship. I've helped people in all sorts of transitions and success in their life in terms of like different, success through trauma, success through business, success like through their life. So I studied a lot of different things. And one, I said to you on videos ages ago about, how do we transform people? I'm really interested in it. So often when homeless people are put in housing projects, right? So they take people off the streets and they put them in housing. Many of the homeless people will go back to the streets, right? I'll tell you why. Because they didn't have trauma specialists. So Although they're now in a safe environment, on the streets, the homeless person's lived in fight and flight. Every day is like, how am I going to get food? How am I going to survive? And they're in this fight and flight. When they get in the housing, they're not, this is such an unfamiliar environment. Yes, it's safer. Yes, it's more comfortable with running water, a bathroom. I mean, can you imagine being homeless, not having a place to go to the bathroom in private? I mean, it's just so hardcore, but they get used to it in survival. So when the fight and flight response is gone, they've got to face all their traumas, all their emotions, which they need help with, and readjust to being this person that they're not identified with in a home. They don't know how to function in society anymore, some of them, right? So we have this simplified idea of just because something is hard, that it's easier on the other side, and it is ultimately over time. But don't underestimate the adjustment, yeah? That when you leave, you're in an unfamiliar ground. Even if it's what people would call better, it might not feel better to you to start with, because you've got some trauma to heal and a kind of rebalance to make, where you get acclimatized to safety and security and who you now are. Sometimes that's overwhelming. You know, for the homeless person, they might feel like these people are going to judge me, not accept me. There's all sorts of things that can happen, as well as just how do I deal with these emotions and actually function in this way. They don't know how to function in that way. Even though it's harder, you know, we see it as harder, the life they've been living, actually, for them at that moment, it can be harder to be in the house, right? Until they get support in able to integrate into their new environment. Right? So it's not unusual for all these emotions, all this stuff to come up, and we do something irrational, like go back to what we didn't want. Or only you can choose yourself and can sort of allow yourself to be in your process, right? But the truth's never going to change, and nor is that if you've gone that far, you deserve, well, it's not even what you deserve, because actually you kind of deserve what you choose in life. Like, you honestly do to some level. Like, I'm not saying that we can control the circumstances we were born into or anything like that, or the experiences we've had, but we get to choose in the end what we'll accept. Deserve is a funny word, because everyone deserves everything. I don't know, I have a problem with that word, because it's like no one deserves more than another person. And to say we're all equal is not true, in terms of we weren't given equal opportunities in life. We weren't. And so people judge people, but in the same circumstances, they'd probably do the same thing. So deservingness, everyone deserves everything, but it's not a balanced entry into the world or circumstances in the world. So it's kind of like you have to choose what you're deciding that you're worthy of, and become able to handle it and receive it. Being able to receive abundance, being able to receive safety, being able to receive it and let go of our fears, let go of our traumas, let go of our patterning is a little bit of work. So be gentle with yourself, and know that just because it's scary, just because you freaked out, just because you've relapsed, doesn't make you any less worthy or capable of everything that you want and creating a much better life for yourself. And if you've chosen it, handle it better. You know, don't put it on other people. Don't moan about it. If you've chosen it again, if you've gone back to the bottle like the alcoholic, accept it. Do your work on yourself, right? Don't go back in the old cycle. Don't even make yourself a victim this time. If you're relapsing, you know you're relapsing. There's no point doing that. Accept where you are, make the best of what you've got, and then decide where you want to go from here. Don't go in the old cycles. Now you're making a choice, you see. When it first happens to us, often we have no choice, but how long we stay, and when we go back, we are making a choice. The universe can only meet you where you're prepared to go, with your energy, with your choices first. You lead, the universe follows. You lead, the universe matches. That's how it works, right? But do not beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up for it. That's a skill. How are you going to navigate the relapse? How we navigate things defines us, not what we get so much, who we are. Who are you going to be when it gets hard, right? Are you going to go again? Are you going to trust yourself again? Or are you going to decide that you're not worth it because you made another mistake? You might make a million mistakes on this planet, doesn't matter. You can still get up again and again and again. All right, my loves, lots of love. I'll speak to you soon.